All right, so you want to go deep on Audible's Romeo and Juliet? Buckle up for some serious drama.
Star-crossed lovers, feuding families, and
Yeah, and some seriously dramatic twists
that's right, we've got the audiobook.
in the play itself.
We're going to really break it down. What makes this story tick?
Total.
I mean, a story written over 400 years ago,
Right.
and it still grabs us.
It really does.
There's got to be more to it than just a good plot.
Exactly. So, like, anyone who needs a quick refresher,
Yeah.
Romeo and Juliet, we're in Verona, Italy. These two families,
Montagues and Capulets?
they hate each other. Like, seriously despise each other.
Deep, deep hatred. Generations of it.
Yeah,
And into this mess,
right.
Romeo, a Montague, and Juliet, a Capulet, they're born.
And they fall in love. Hard. Forbidden love, secret meetings, balconies, the whole bit.
But we all know it's not going to be easy.
Nope.
Right from the start, Shakespeare sets us up for tragedy. That
Yeah.
prologue,
Good idea.
before anyone even speaks, tells us these lovers are star-crossed. They're doomed. Like a warning whispered right in your ear.
It's interesting how that prologue works in audio, right?
Yeah.
It's not just on the page anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's a voice setting the mood,
Mm-hmm.
foreboding.
Yeah.
Like it hangs over everything.
It totally does.
Does it like make those happy parts, the balcony scene and all, even more intense?
Oh, absolutely. The stakes are so high.
Yeah.
You know, you really feel for these characters, their love story, all this violence and hatred around them,
yeah.
their moments together, so precious, so fragile.
Okay, speaking of bringing those moments to life, the
Yeah.
cast. Michael Sheen is Romeo, Kate Beckinsale is Juliet. Wow,
Inspired casting.
they're incredible.
Two powerhouse actors
Yeah.
breathing new life into these iconic roles. But there's something special about hearing it, not just seeing it.
Right.
You know, with film, we're focused on the visuals. Here, it's all about the voice.
Yes.
The nuances of their performance, how they convey those raw emotions, the intonation, the pacing.
It's like you're listening in on their like deepest thoughts and feelings.
Exactly.
You can hear the yearning in Sheen's voice when he talks about Juliet.
Absolutely.
And Beckinsale, she captures that youthful innocence.
Yeah.
And that defiance.
Perfectly.
Is so well.
And without visual cues, the audio has to work harder.
True.
How do they use sound to create the world?
Right, they get really creative with it. Think about the fight scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Swords clashing, the shouts, the groans, even the music.
It all builds the tension.
It's almost cinematic.
Totally immersive storytelling, like you're right there in Verona.
Okay, now let's dig a little deeper into the play itself.
Okay.
There are some fascinating characters beyond Romeo and Juliet. We've got Friar Lawrence, the mentor figure, tries to help the lovers.
Well-meaning, but flawed.
Right.
He's an intriguing character, seems wise, compassionate,
On the surface, yeah.
trying to use their marriage to heal the families. But his actions? Disastrous consequences?
He reminds me of those people, in real life who try to control everything, like thinking they know best.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
Like a political advisor, or that friend who sets you up on a blind date with someone totally wrong for you. Good intentions, but
Sometimes it backfires spectacularly.
yeah.
It raises those questions about human nature, right? The road to hell paved with good intentions.
Amazing.
Friar Lawrence, he makes you wonder about fate versus free will. Did Romeo and Juliet even have a chance?
Or were they doomed from the start?
It's the question. Haunts audiences for centuries, you know?
Right.
And this production, it doesn't shy away from that. You keep thinking about it long after it's over.
It really gets under your skin. You're trying to figure out, was it inevitable? Could things have been different? And there's so many other characters who add to that feeling of doom. Mercutio, Romeo's friend.
Mercutio.
It's so interesting.
Such a fascinating character.
Yeah.
On the one hand, all wit and cynicism,
Yeah.
mocking Romeo for being so in love. But then, that Queen Mab speech
Oh, yeah.
about the fairy who controls dreams,
Right.
it's hilarious, but it's also unsettling.
It's delivered so well in this production.
Oh, yeah.
You can hear the humor, but there's this hint of darkness too, like foreshadowing.
Definitely. And then, his death
Oh, man.
at the hands of Tybalt, Juliet's cousin.
It's a turning point.
It really is.
Yeah.
It reminds you, even the most lively characters, they can be gone in an instant, victims of this senseless violence.
And that brings us to the themes of the play. Shakespeare wasn't just telling a story. He was exploring these big ideas about love, hate, fate, what it means to be human. Light and dark, that's a major one.
Yeah, he uses that imagery throughout.
Right.
Juliet calls Romeo the sun.
Oh, yeah.
Their love, it blossoms in darkness, hidden from their families.
It's like a secret light in this world consumed by darkness and hatred.
Exactly.
It makes you think love can exist anywhere.
Even in the most difficult circumstances.
And then, that final scene, the tomb.
Shrouded in darkness, literally and metaphorically.
Powerful. It represents the consequences.
Absolutely.
I have to say, the way they use sound to create that atmosphere in the tomb, incredible.
Yeah.
You can feel the coldness, the silence, the weight of death,
It adds so much emotion to that scene.
It really does.
And that scene, it's the culmination of another big theme, fate versus free will.
Right.
The prologue tells us, star-crossed lovers, it suggests that their fate is sealed.
But then you have Romeo crying out, "I defy you, stars."
Oh, yeah.
Like he's trying to fight against destiny.
Yeah.
But it's too much. How does this production make you feel about that struggle?
It captures both, I think. The yearning for control, but also that feeling of being trapped.
Yeah.
The way Sheen delivers that line, you hear the desperation, the defiance, but also this sense of inevitability.
What's interesting is how fate is portrayed in the play and in this audio version.
Yeah.
It's not just some, abstract force. It's a series of human choices, mistakes. If Friar Lawrence hadn't gotten involved, if Romeo hadn't been so impulsive.
Exactly. It's a reminder that our choices and the choices of others, they have consequences.
Right.
Unintended, sometimes devastating. It's not just the stars, it's the people. Flawed, well-meaning, or just plain selfish.
Now, we can't talk about Romeo and Juliet without talking about the ending. Spoiler alert, they both die.
But it's not just about their deaths, it's about what those deaths mean.
Right.
Their love, it becomes a catalyst for change. The families have to face the senselessness of their feud.
Okay, so that final scene, Romeo, he thinks Juliet is dead. He goes to the tomb.
Drinks poison.
The grand romantic gesture gone wrong.
Sheen's performance there, you can hear the despair.
It's heartbreaking.
A world without Juliet, unimaginable.
And then Juliet wakes up.
Finds Romeo dead.
Talk about a nightmare.
She understands their love then, fully. But it's too late. Beckinsale, she's incredible in that moment.
So powerful.
The anguish, the disbelief, the loss.
But even then, their love, it shines through.
Absolutely. They choose death over a life apart. That intensity, the purity of their connection.
And it's their deaths that finally get through to the families.
They see the absurdity of their hatred.
Such a tragic but powerful message. Sometimes it takes a huge loss to break down those walls.
It leaves us with a lot to think about. It really does. That ending, heartbreaking. But it makes you think about forgiveness. Reconciliation.
Can things really change?
Yeah, do the families really mean it? That vow to end the feud? Or is it just, empty words after such a tragedy?
It's a good question. Can you really just erase centuries of hatred like that?
Right. The play ends on this note of hope, but it's fragile.
It is.
It acknowledges how deep that prejudice runs, how violence can become a cycle.
It doesn't give us easy answers.
No, it doesn't. And that's what makes it so powerful. You keep wrestling with these ideas.
It makes you wonder, does that cycle just continue? Even today, in different ways?
Exactly. Romeo and Juliet, it's a warning about the destructive power of hate and how important it is to bridge those divides before it's too late.
This production, it really doesn't shy away from those tough questions.
It really doesn't.
The performance, the sound design, it creates this experience that's so immersive, so emotional.
It's a fresh take on a classic.
Even if you know the story, it makes you see it in a new light.
It really does. Makes you think about the characters, their motivations.
So if you're looking for a way to experience Romeo and Juliet, that'll, really stick with you.
Yeah.
Check out this Audible production. It's amazing storytelling. It reminds us of these themes, these ideas that are still so relevant today.
And it reminds us about the power of language.
Oh, yeah.
Throughout the play, words are used to deceive, to manipulate, to incite violence.
Right.
But Romeo and Juliet, their love, it's also expressed through words. Their sonnets, their vows, their goodbyes.
That's such a good point. Language can be used for both, right? Good and bad.
Absolutely.
But ultimately, it's their words that make their love immortal.
They keep the story alive.
It's incredible how powerful a story can be, how it can, transcend time and place.
Yeah, it really is. The power of great storytelling.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground here. The enduring appeal of Romeo and Juliet, the magic of this specific production, and all those rich themes. What really stood out to you? What are you taking away from this deep dive into star-crossed lovers and tragedy?
I think for me, it's the idea that even in the darkest times, love and hope can still exist, even just a flicker. And that's worth fighting for.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the enduring power of Romeo and Juliet. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.